Hello and welcome to the Pharmaverse Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pietrack. If you're a leader or an aspiring leader in the pharmaceutical industry, well, then you've come to the right place. Because we interview the brightest stars from all the different corners of the pharma universe, the Pharmaverse Podcast is brought to you by K. Bassman International, your premier recruiting resource in the pharma industry. Also, Executive Biotech Advisors, a trusted name in biotech consulting. Today, we're visited by the Chief Commercial Officer and Chief Operating Officer at Domelabs, Marco Smit, who's going to talk to us about everything related to AI as it relates to a pharmaceutical company. We're going to discuss drug development, new roles that AI could create within a pharma company, and what is keeping CEOs up at night as it relates to AI. So, Marco Smit, welcome to the Pharmaverse.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Well, one of the things I thought we should start with is just for you to basically educate us on what Domelabs is doing and what your role is there.
What Domelabs does is it really focuses on the growing problem that we have today, which is there's a lot of desire to adopt AI, particularly Gen AI and even Agentic AI. But it brings with it all kind of risk. And what you see is that this was built by or developed by a chief AI officer, the first chief AI officer of United Healthcare. And he basically like, what would I have liked to have to control and grow the use of AI in a controlled manner? And so that's what Domelabs has become. So Domelabs is a control and enablement layer. So what it does is it controls the risk of your AI, and it enables you to accelerate AI adoption, and it allows you to maximize your ROI. And doing all those things in a controlled fashion today, that is missing. This is a layer between the infrastructure layer and the application layer. The infrastructure layer guys are not focused on this risk, and application people are also not focused on this risk. So you really need a dynamic layer in between that we create that allows chief AI officers, CIOs, and CISOs, the security folks as well, to allow for bringing the potential of AI to its fore without incurring unnecessary risk or risk that they cannot measure or control. The key about AI, particularly this autonomous AI that's coming, Gen AI, Agentic AI, is no one has a PhD or even a bachelor's degrees in how to manage AI, right? Particularly because it's so new. So what we hear, there's an enormous demand for learning the skills of how do I co-develop, coexist with AI. And this upskilling demand, you're in the recruiting business, we hear this is tremendous. So number one, there is a need for existing people to learn better structurally how to manage AI. If I'm an oncologist and now I'm supposed to evaluate AI algorithms and this AI agent, how am I supposed to do that? When am I supposed to do that, right? So there needs to be some kind of structured way that is lightweight enough so they can actually do it and not some kind of 6-month course, which knocks them out of their practice is not possible. And then the second part is there are whole new roles that are emerging. And that's where people need to figure out what are these new roles? How do I recruit for these people? I've never recruited someone with this job title before, right? So how does that work? So that's, I think, another part that we do at Domelabs as well. We help with that, not the recruiting part, but how do you figure out what role it is to be, where would you find people like this, etc., like that. So we are not the ones doing the recruiting, but we are helping to say, here are your organizational gaps if you want to skate to where the puck is going to be. And then here's how you work with a recruiter to fill that gap.
What are you doing with companies now that you're really excited about in life sciences?
I would say in terms of what people are doing in pharma specifically, I would say there are a few things. Number one, they're building, on the one level, they're building foundation models a lot. So there's a lot of hope to use all these tailwinds of this funding into general foundation models to build more proprietary foundation models, and using all the fragmented efforts from pathology to radiology to genetics, etc., and integrate it for the first time in a way that was not possible before. So I think that's one thing. I think the second part that goes closer to the Domelabs mission is we see a lot of AI efforts in pharma are kind of bubbling up. A lot of our customers are trying to figure out, how do I streamline? I want to streamline it and centralize it enough so that we don't have the inefficiencies, we optimize synergies, but we don't stifle innovation either. So we do want to let the teams do their own AI, but not to the point that there's a lot of unnecessary churn or duplication or missed opportunities. So I think that's where there's a lot of effort to set it up right. There's a technology component to it. There's an organizational component to it. There's a resource allocation component to it. So this is not easy to do. And I think the other part too, the final comment to make on that note is that for pharma companies, the decision-making processes tend to be on the slow side, and the technology development when it comes to AI is, of course, super fast. So when I'm trying to evaluate my options, every 3 months my options seem to be changing.
It's obsolete.
So that's hard. And I've seen VCs here who talk about, let's call it the more startup pharma companies, even the other like hundreds of millions of dollars. And part of what they were talking about is the foundation models that they're using. The cost of them seem to be changing dramatically. Like we're talking about a factor 3 in sometimes in the span of a month. And so so there is definitely some, what I think we are at the moment is that for a while there was unlimited AI spending because it was all about who gets to be at the frontier. I think right now where we're getting to is AI is becoming the main part of the business and main part of the science and innovation. So we should treat it like a business and not like a science project. So I think this whole point where the costs can vary like crazy on the back end, that's not going to be acceptable after a while anymore. So we need to make sure that we deal with that. So I think that's one of the big changes that I anticipate coming.
That makes a lot of sense. And that is what a lot of other people are saying too. So it feels like the ring of truth there. Now, you mentioned that you would advise people to go and look into educating themselves about AI. Even like I have kids that are about to, go to college and those sorts of things. Like maybe they should have AI as their main area of study. But at the flip side, even though AI may create more jobs, it's also going to eliminate some jobs, right? I mean, what roles do you see potentially being eliminated or changed because of AI?
2 comments to make. Number one, when we say AI, what we're talking about is Gen AI and Agentic AI, because I think traditional AI, ML has been around forever. And so that's not going to change anything. But when we're talking about Gen AI, we're talking about Agentic AI. It uses the React framework, right? Reasoning and acting. And that is the biggest threat to these jobs and roles. But I think for the workforce, the task, if you think about the task level, it means the jobs that are most vulnerable is where you have the highest ratio of, there's a lot of data involved. It's high complexity and high friction. So this is where, if there's high complexity or high friction, this is where AI will thrive. So, but it needs that high data. If there's not high data, like it's an intangible job or a lot of intangibles, judgment and so on, then it becomes difficult. But there's a lot of data and high friction. That's perfect for AI. So you also want to have low intangible judgment. So it needs to be pretty rules-based or analytical so that it can learn. And then I think the other part too, low clinical, regulatory, or legal risk. Where the big payoff is ultimately for pharma is when you get into clinical things and when regulatory risk does get involved. So it's kind of a harder road to hoe, but it's a bigger payoff. But everyone goes for the low-hanging fruit first. I'd take the crawl, walk, run approach, right? So that's all the crawling and maybe walking that they do.
What do you think about like these doomsday prophecies about, AI taking over everything? Because, I use ChatGPT, OpenAI, a large language model, and there's so many inaccuracies. There's so many errors that are made. And like, I'm saying that, are we worried about this thing taking over everything? Like, tell me what you think.
I do not believe that it's going to be a threat to us as human beings. I think the agentic AI has more of a potential to be a threat because the whole point of agentic AI is that I'm delegating something to the agent without knowing all the details of how he or she does it, or how it does it. And what you're starting to see is that agents, even LLMs, are able to effectively game the system or to be gamed. So I think this is where you can have a situation where they go around the guardrails, right? So I think that's where there is real risk, but not in the sense that they become super intelligence that is going to run us. But it's more examples are, and even in the consumer world, hey, we don't want a chatbot to encourage my kid to commit suicide or do something terrible. But if you manipulate the context engineering in certain ways, you can actually go around those guardrails. And this has been proven in other situations as well. So I think this is where the vulnerability is, that malicious actors can do much more harm undetected than they can do without AI. But AI is a super being that's going to control us. I think that's not really realistic for a long time to come.
What a relief. So let's go back to like just the normal everyday employee. What are a few things that they can be doing right now to improve their ability to maximize AI to do their job function?
I think for the everyday person, everyday employee, I think it's really number one, I would say engage with AI. Don't just read about AI or think what could it do. Start actually trying to play with LLMs, start trying to work with agents. Explore. Google has been building a lot of AI agents for life sciences, others as well. So engage with it. Ultimately, I think this has been said many times for researchers, also for others. Those who work with, you will not be replaced by AI, but you'll be replaced by someone who knows how to work with AI, right? Mm-hmm. So be that person who knows how to work with AI is what I would say. And to be honest, also as you engage with it, you will see the limitations. So you also will figure out where you can be, a unique contributor and a leader in that respect. So I'd say number one, engage. Number two, really try to invest in your own training and development. And number three, like try to think about, if someone is thinking about how they would redesign my job based on task, what do I think the tasks are that we as a team should be doing, and how can I play a leadership role in this transition? So I think that's something that you would do. Take charge of the change. Don't let the change happen to you.
I love that point, because if you start playing with AI and you become pretty good at it, you can say, okay, what are the tasks that I could delegate to my assistant AI? Yes. And if you're paying for the $20 a month ChatGPT account, that's a pretty inexpensive assistant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I see that. Now, you've made some really great predictions about how the pharmaceutical industry could maximize AI in the future, especially with drug development. To end the show, make one big, bold prediction in the next 3 to 5 years. What is something AI is going to be doing that you think is going to be really revolutionary?
Okay, big. Wow.
Come on. I want the Marco Smit
go
prediction.
Out on top, right? So,
yes.
So maybe instead of that, let me kind of hedge a little bit.
Oh, hedge.
But I think there are 3 or 4 things that I would want to point out. So I think number one is, so the foundation models, I think maybe you can call this a big prediction. I think foundation models to some extent are going to be, so the foundation models themselves are going to commoditize. So most folks who are thinking about problem solving are trying to now build even their solutions so that you can backend switch out which foundation model you use, whether you want to use Claude or OpenAI or someone else. So there is already this desire to not be dependent on any particular foundation model. And so I think the general foundation models are going to be commoditized. I think the fact of the matter is the foundation model builders also know this, so they're trying to go downstream from that. So I'll come to that I'll have a more exciting prediction for you in a second.
All right.
So I think within the foundation model world, specialty expertise mixed with proprietary data will be powerful. And then special use cases like toxicology I mentioned are going to be powerful. So that's number one on the foundation model side. On the second part, what we are going to hit, and I think we've seen this outside of healthcare already, and within healthcare and life sciences is going to be even more pronounced, Even outside of healthcare, they're talking about how the scaling laws are going to exhaust and hit a plateau around 2027 or 2028, because there's not enough data to feed the machine for improvement. And I think within healthcare and life sciences, this is a real problem, and this will become even more of a problem. So I think this is where one part I would say, or two parts. Number one, we've seen Verily recently launch a consumer app to generate all this data that will feed, and they're literally saying we're doing this and may monetize this through by giving your data to pharma or selling your data to pharma companies. Like, that is the only reason why you do it. So, and I think OpenAI has also been rumored to do the same thing. They want to build an app that tracks your, like an AI agent that allows you to generate lots of data that can be mined by pharma company. I think both of these are complete dead on arrival. There is not a chance in hell that they'll be meaningful in the long term. It's a supply side out. It's a what can I do rather than what people want me to do that they're solving. And so it is never going to work.
Well, Marco, I know I speak for everybody that's listening to the show. We've just been fascinated by all these really amazing insights. Thank you so much for joining us on the Pharmaverse.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that concludes another episode of the Pharmaverse Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming leaders with fantastic insights, not only about leadership, but also about career development. Now, for this episode, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching, and see you next time in the Pharmaverse.